What's up, guys? JDB Sports here, back for another Saturday program we got going on. This is the NFC West edition. New setup. We got the Discord up on the right. We got the ticker on the bottom. Hope y'all like it. Let's get right to it. Let's jump right into it. We got the Arizona Cardinals first up,
Take it
and
away.
yeah, they got 41 million cap space, good for fifth best in the league. They, in my opinion, they need a wide receiver, offensive line, cornerback, and defensive line maybe. They picked up Josh Sweat on a 4-year, 76 mil contract. I like him. Solid addition for him. One of the commanders to get him. Good at setting the edge and getting to the quarterback. What do you think about Josh Sweat?
Yeah, I think it's a really good value signing for him. Josh Sweat was looking to get about 20 to 25 million a year from a lot of the other teams in the league. He took a pay cut last year to kind of fit what the Eagles wanted to do on defense, and now he's doing the same with the impressive Cardinals team. So, really give him credit there. And again, follow the needs with you as well. Defensive line, interior, and them shoring up the edge position is crucial for him.
Yeah, and also they got Dalvin Tomlinson, 2-year, 29 mil. Love them with the Giants. True run stuffer, serviceable backup. No, he's not a backup. that was for my next note, I guess. True run stuffer. Love to see him when he was a New York Giant. Hope he brings it over to the Arizona Cardinals and help him sharp that defensive line too. In a division where you got the Rams playing, you got Seattle and the 49ers. I think
Great
they're
set of
good
running
chances
back.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you facing CMC, you're facing Kyron Williams, you're facing Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. You need a good interior to lock that up. So I'm with you. Great signing there.
they also got Jacoby Brissett on a 2-year, 12.5 mil deal. Serviceable backup can fill in when needed. That was the note I was saying before, but you can fill in when needed. Jacoby Brissett was a Commander. Loved to see him when he was on the Commanders. We wanted to keep him before we got Mariota, but it is what it is. He went to New England, got some playing time there, and now he's in Arizona, potentially backing up the Call of Duty player himself. So
Yeah. Yeah, really good deal in all honesty. Still solid at best, Jacoby is. Again, all it is a backup position, but pretty good value there. So no complaints.
we also got Akeem Davis Gaither, 2-year, 10 million deal, former backup. With the Bengals, expected to start for the Cardinals. He's expected to be in that rotation at least. Nice athleticism, but he struggles in run support and getting off blocks. It's everybody's got their downsides. Not everybody's perfect. What you think about Akeem Davis, man?
I mean, in all honesty, I think it's a downgrade in their linebacker core. You look at losing out on a guy like Kazir White, which we'll touch on a little later, but definitely helps the linebacker gap they kind of have now, losing two of their starting guys. And Davis Gaither has had a solid 2022 and 2023 campaign. This past year just wasn't it for him, so maybe he can get that juice back.
For sure. We got Calais Campbell coming back on a 1-year, 5.5 mil deal. He was there, then he left, and he came back. Love to see him come back. Dude still makes his presence felt when he was with the Dolphins, I believe, too. Love that signing for him, and especially at the price too. Can't really hate on it.
Yeah, good little veteran, 40-year-old, but still a lot of juice left in his tank. So glad he signed on with a solid team.
Right. So now we got Kevin Beecham at tackle. 1-year, $4 million deal. Swing tackle re-signs with the potential of starting. Just didn't really hear too many good things about him. I mean, he's been with them for a while, so
Yeah, he's an average, below average piece. Nothing more I can really say on the topic.
that man's a peach.
He's a peach. He got some peaches back there. Hey, yo.
Also got LJ Collier, defensive end, 1-year, $3 million deal. We're not doing anybody really under 2.4 mil. I think I did when I wrote these up. He played special teams and aims to be a key part of that rotation. So, you know, always good to have extra bodies in the defensive line, especially, it's one of the higher wearing points on that defense. So, well, on the defense. So,
Yep.
how do you feel about him, and how do you feel about Zay Jones signing? I think he's a depth option behind MH Jr. and Michael Wilson too. So Do
Yeah,
you
I
think
mean,
he
I don't know.
good?
I like Zay Jones. I think 2.4 million is fair. Um, However, outside of Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, having another key separator would be nice. So maybe that's something they look into, say the third, fourth round this year after they address their defense a little more. Um, but yeah, I think it's solid at best.
Can't really complain with you there. I mean, I don't think he makes the. I don't think he really fills out that role at wide receiver three, like I was, hearing that he would. We also got the departures. We had Zach Pascal went to the Giants. You got Jackson Barton unsigned. Tristan Colin unsigned. Will Hernandez is unsigned. Will Hernandez is with the Giants, and I don't think that he was very. He wasn't that great with the Giants, in my opinion.
He wasn't. He's had
Yeah.
some better years on the Cardinals for sure. I'm shocked he doesn't have an offer at this point. In all honesty, with you.
Yeah, Chris Barnes is unsigned. Kaiser White is unsigned. Dennis Gardeck is unsigned. Julian Okwara is unsigned. Naquan Jones is with the Chargers. Roy Lopez with the Lions. That is a weird way to Kyrus. Yeah, I'm just go.
Kyrie's. I think
Kyrie's,
Kyrie's.
yeah. Kyrie's Tonga going to the Patriots. Michael Pilardi not signed, and Matt Prater not signed.
Yeah, I think it's. Who do you think out of those is the biggest loss in your estimation?
Probably like you said, like Kaiser White, or I guess Zach Pascal. I mean, he could have been a wide receiver three. He's
Yeah.
yeah, he was good with the Colts, I believe, and when he was with the Commanders, he was a good camp body. Did good in preseason, but outside of that, just best years as a Colt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you there. I would say biggest losses. I agree with you. I see Kaiser White. Will Hernandez is kind of a bigger loss just because the lack of addressing their offensive line, in my opinion. You already have some building blocks like a Paris Johnson on that offensive line who's going to be there for years to come. However, supporting him with some better offensive lineman cast would be better. So let's get into grades. I mean, what do you have this Cardinals team graded out at, and where do you see their record lying this season?
Right, so it's a little bit of a doozy. I got him at a C. I love the defensive line addressing in free agency. Wish they would have done more from an offensive line standpoint, as well as get a wide receiver three behind Michael Wilson and MH Jr. Don't think Zay Jones cuts it, like I said before. I think they go 9-8. I think they address their needs nicely in the draft. Yeah, they could have the same success as last year, if not, better. Didn't really use the cap space to its potential this year, outside of
Josh.
Davlin and Josh White. Yeah, second in the West, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. I kind of feel the same along with you. 9-8, 8-9. I think they do hover around that range. As far as
they're
their
8-9 last year. I gave them a game.
yeah, yeah. I feel like 9-8 makes a lot of sense. You're going to see a jump from Marvin Harrison Jr. The defense should get better. The division should be about as difficult as it was last year. You see the Rams getting a little bit better. Seattle looks to have a more healthy defense and a second-year coach. Who knows what Sam Darnold's going to look like there, but I'll go with 9-8 with you. And then we have very similar draft picks. The Jahdae Barron going to a Mox at 16. I think it fills a great need for him.
You picked that too, as well?
I believe I picked either Jahdae Barron. If Mike Green was to fall, I kind of like Mike Green to him on the edge, or Kenneth Grant even. I was looking for him to shore up that interior a little bit.
And like a Jahdae Barron too, because he fills a need. It helps in run support with the sure tackling too. You need that against the CMC. Their backs in the division as well. Kyron Williams. He plays with great leverage and can defend bigger wide receivers, even though he's only 5'11". So can't really complain about him.
Yeah, and something cool about Jahdae Barron I was reading up on a little bit is he actually used to train as a boxer. So his technique and his way that he plays corner is very similar to a boxer or even a martial artist at times in the way he mimics. And that's where his size, being a little bit on the shorter side, he can make up for that in different ways. So good pick there.
You picked. You said Mike Green. If he falls to him,
if he falls, I mean, he's rising a lot as of late and looks to be one of the premier edge rushers in the class. Um, Maybe if someone like a Mason Graham falls to about that 10-ish range and the Cardinals look to trade up as well, because they do like trading in drafts as of recent. Jonathan Gannon has wanted to go out and get his guys. Maybe you look for someone like that. Maybe you trade up for a Will Johnson even out of Michigan, and really try to get that corner position solidified if you're not going defensive tackle.
Sure, like it. You want to get on to these Rams next?
Oh, let's get on to these Rams.
21st in the league in cap space, 18.61 mil, or 62 mil. Team needs, in my opinion, a cornerback, linebacker, and offensive tackle. Love the Devontae Adams signing, 2-year, 44 mil. You know, with Cup on his way out, Adams may have found himself a reliable team with Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah,
Love it.
I think it's a perfect replacement.
And then Puna Ford, also, I really like this one too. 3-year, 27.6 mil. You know, makes his defense more or less elite. Well, if they weren't talking about him last year, with his ability to get after the quarterback and clog the run, showed immense promise on the Chargers last year, especially in that playoff game against Houston.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He swallows up the interior. He's really good against the run. That's his way of going about just clogging the middle up. And wish we could sign him back, but glad he got his well-deserved payday.
he does clog up that interior.
Hey, yo.
All right. Coleman Shelton, center guard, 2-year, $12 million deal. Expected to compete in the starting role. You know, weak against the rush, allowing pressure on his quarterback. Kind of undersized, just 285 pounds, though. We'll see what happens. Maybe that piece if he doesn't get that starting job.
Yeah, I think he'll by default be in that starting role. But they just drafted a rookie center last year, Bo Limmer, who showed some solid flashes and everything. Despite the Jalen Carter rush up the middle, that costed them their playoff run against the Eagles. Not going to speak too much on that.
Poor Rams fans.
Yeah, poor Rams fans. But looking to get their get back, and I think that's some healthy competition for them. If not, slot them in at right guard and kind of see how you shuffle your offensive line outside of that.
Also got a Kello Witherspoon, 1-year, 1.25 mil. Re-signed with the Rams. Not much to say on this one. Pretty solid. He was decent last year, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Don't know if he's gotten burnt. I mean, everybody's gotten burnt, of course. But what do you feel about Akello?
He has really high highs, but he has really low lows. He either gets burnt like toast or he's really solid for a game. I don't feel like he's an elite number 1 or number 2 by any stretch of the margins, but he's a reliable corner. He plays a lot of games, and he's familiar with the scheme, so I think that will help him in the long run.
Okay, so let's get into some of these departures. We got Tyler Johnson going to the Jets. We have Cooper Kupp going to the Seattle Seahawks. It kind of stings for him because now you got to see him twice a year. Demarcus Robinson also going to the 49ers, same with the twice-a-year comment. Hunter Long going to the Jags. Jonah Jackson traded to the Bears. Joe Noteboom, unsigned. Michael Hoyt went to the Bills. Neville Gallimore went to the Colts. Bobby Brown went to the Panthers. They're going to miss him, but at the same time, Puna Ford. What do you think about that replacement? You think Puna Ford fills in and takes over?
I think Puna Ford's a better player. I do think Bobby Brown has the higher upside, however, though. And for a Panthers team that's looking to build something, I feel like it's best of both worlds for both teams at this stage.
Sure. Then we also got Troy Reader, unsigned, and Christian Rosenblum went to the Panthers. Safety John Johnson is unsigned as well. What free agency grade do you have for these guys?
In all honesty, I would say about like a C to C plus range. I feel like that they should have addressed linebacker a little more. Look to make a splash somewhere there as far as like a Landon Roberts of the world. Maybe you go out for a Kaiser White. That's still a possibility at this stage in free agency just to replace a Rose Boom and a Troy Reader. And then, in all honesty, I think you upgrade on the wide receiver side, so I give them all the credit there. And most importantly, they retain Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So this team, I think, is in a very solid spot. I'll go C+. How do you feel?
And that C+ as well with you. They got valuable replacements with Ford. Ford for Brown, Adams for Cup. The linebacker market was kind of weak this year. Bobby Wagner only got an $8 million deal. I don't remember exactly who else. I know Zach Bond re-signed, but I don't remember what was his deal. Do you remember Zach Bond?
He got a grip of money. He probably got like 15 to 18 average per year.
I guess he set that market really, but no. Other than that, there's not really much else to look for. I mean, like you said, go out and get a Kaiser White. I'll bring him back. Yeah, go out and get him. My bad. C+ in my opinion, like you said. Agreeing with you there. I'm going for 11-6 for the first in the West. I feel like they repeat back to the playoffs and hopefully make a deep run with Stafford. Now you have Stafford and Adams, and with the draft pick that I picked, Colson Loveland out of Michigan with pick number 26. Filling a slight need after Hunter Long departed to the Jaguars. I feel like this is the replacement really. The dynamic tight end has a high potential. McVay likes his tight ends, Mr. Sir. Loveland has smooth route running and great quickness, allowing him to gain separation quickly against man coverage and finding the soft spots in the zone. His run blocking could use a little bit of work, though. I like him at pick 26 to replace Long. I mean, I know Higbee is the starter as well, but good to groom a rookie to replace him at some point. McVay, like I said, McVay likes his dynamic tight ends. I mean, you look back when he was with the Redskins. I think Jordan Reed was one of the dynamic tight ends that he liked to use as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to get the most out of him with Stafford, Adams, and Loveland as well as Higbee. The sky's the limit for this team, in my opinion. I believe they get to the championship game again. Well, they get to the championship game this year. So
yeah. Yeah, I really like all your analysis there. I mean, Colston Loveland is a little bit of a sleeper pick at 26 now that you're bringing it up to me, Vin. I really like your 11-6 analysis. Honestly, I'm going to pair right with you there, maybe 12-5. But in all honesty, just to talk about Colston a little more, he's like an oversized wide receiver in a lot of ways.
Like a Jordan Reed.
6'5". Yeah, in and out of his breaks really well. And Sean McVay really hasn't had, at least in his tenure with the Rams, a really good tight end to go out there and create some space. And I feel like that would be an immediate Cooper Kupp replacement, in that slot spot. You could have Devontae out wide a little more, get really dynamic with that offense.
Scared this year.
To supplement that defense. Yeah. I think it would be great if I wasn't going in that direction. You look at, corners a little bit later, or even interior defensive linemen. Maybe if a Jihad Campbell even slips to him at 26, that would be huge for him. I think we both have him mocked to the Bengals at 17, I believe. But if he's to slip at all, I see that right there. They take the opportunity on that. So
stick around, we'll definitely show those mock drafts up on screen. Little different between both, but we'll go ahead and let's get right to it after we hit these 49ers and the 49ers. I laid into them. I laid into them. They have 43 mil in cap space. Good for third in the league. They need offensive line, defensive line, and wide receiver, in my opinion. They signed Luke Farrell to a 3-year, $15.75 mil. Blocking tight end can be serviceable in the pass game. That's their highest contract that they've signed this offseason. Not really much to say about him too much other than, we can move on to the next pick. Unless you have anything you want to say about Luke Farrell.
No, I don't. And honestly, this whole free agency class in general for him is extremely lackluster for the stiff departures we're about to
get. Yeah, stiff departures, man. That's crazy. Mac Jones, 2-year, $8.4 mil contract. Don't like this signing. Mac Jones is butt. I'd rather have a bowl of mac and cheese over Mac Jones.
McCorkle and cheese,
Oh
dude.
man.
I don't know. I think he's okay as a backup, but yeah, it doesn't do anything for the team. It's just he's kind of there as a cheerleader.
I mean, unless Purdy's in and out of the lineup, like he's been recently.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Purdy will have a healthy year. His play style doesn't leave too much to be injured over or anything like that. He's mobile, but not crazy. So
So looking at Demarcus Robinson, 2-year, $8 million deal, solid for the Rams. Probably the only actual signing I like, really, that they've made. Um, Demarcus Robinson's pretty solid indeed. What do you think about him?
yeah, I mean, he kind of fills that same role that a lot of their other wide receivers do. You have a Jawan Johnson, you have a Ricky Pearsall, and now you have a Demarcus Robinson.
Same
Um,
thing.
and Brandon Ayuk still in the process of coming back there. So I think it's a little bit of an insurance policy based on, what they plan to do with Ayuk, whether it's trade him in the middle of the season now that his contract bonuses hit and you kind of see where you stand there. Um, the Niners still need to sign Brock Purdy to a contract. That's going to take into account why they haven't done so much this offseason. But in all honesty, it just looks like the Niners are losing their touch a little bit.
Yeah, their Super Bowl window closed a long time ago. Kyle Juszczyk coming back on a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. Re-signing this bulletproof stud was the least they could do. Kyle Shanahan
Yeah.
does like his fullbacks as well as, if they can receive like Kyle Juszczyk can, great. Also got Saron Neal at safety for a 2-year, $4 million deal. Special teamer depth, in my opinion. I don't really know what else to say about him other than, it is what it is with that. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think the same thing. He's just there for depth.
Let's get these stiff departure list out the way right now because it's going to be a mouthful. We got Brandon Allen to the Titans. Kurt 2.0. No, I'm just kidding. Quarterback Josh Dobbs went to the Patriots. Jordan Mason went to the Vikings. Elijah Mitchell went to the Chiefs. Chris Conley is unsigned. Deebo Samuel got traded to my Commanders. Eric Saubert went to the Seahawks. Charlie Heck went to the Buccaneers. Jesus Christ. Charlie Heck went to the Buccaneers. When I wrote this up, it was going to be crazy, but oh my God. Oh, 1 second. Get you back in here?
Hold up.
You there? Okay. Yeah. Hey, you're frozen right now. Yeah, try closing your browser and then open it back up. Okay. This is all over the place. Can't really hear you that well, man. Lagging like crazy. Let me see something. Let me try to take you out. Put you back in. You here? All right, just hang on 1 sec, guys. Just dealing with a little bit of a technical difficulty. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. And I'll just go ahead and I'll keep reading down the departure list for the 49ers while we wait for them. We got Jalen Moore, he went to the Chiefs. Aaron Banks went to the Packers. We also got John Feliciano, he's retiring. Leonard Floyd went to the Falcons. Devondre Campbell, he's unsigned. Dre Greenlaw went to the Broncos. Malik Collins went to the Browns. Khalil Davis is unsigned. Javon Hargrave went to the Vikings. Nick McLeod went to the Bears. Tre'Davious Ward went to the Colts. Rocky Sin went to the Lions. Isaiah Yiadom went to the Saints. Demetrius Flanagan Fowles went to the Giants. Deshaun Gibson is unsigned. Talanoa Hufanga went to the Broncos. You back?
Yep, I
What
think it's good
happened?
now. Sorry about that little technical difficulty. This internet over here ain't so saddled up for this.
It is what it is. Just reading off the last two. Pat O'Donnell's unsigned and Tabor Pepper is unsigned. That's all the stiff list of those free agents.
Yeah, yeah, big free agency list, and I don't know why they didn't replace more.
My free
Those
agency
great
grade for them is yeah. Let's get it. I'm going with an F. They lost too much and they brought really nobody in. You know, was still the third most cap space. What the hell are they doing?
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah. I'm right there along with you. I think it's an F. I think they could have gotten the Brock Purdy contract done a little bit earlier to save face, to make sure, you know, if they really think he's the guy, pay him earlier so you don't have to pay him as much. Now it's looking like he's going to get upwards of $300 million, and they're just going to handicap their franchise even more. So I feel the sentiment on the F.
Bad for the 49ers and well, I feel bad for their fans having to put up with this, losing their Super Bowls and then not getting back and just crippling your franchise as it is now. What are they doing up there in that front office? They can't be pleased with this when they go home every day. But my record for them is 5-12, last in the South. I feel like the departures are too much to overcome. Mac Jones, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I'm there with you. I think it's 6-11 for them. I think them being a little healthier this year will help them out a lot. But this is a complete overhaul, it seems like, on the defense, on the offensive line. Ricky Pearsall is going to have a huge step-up season at wideout. And you lose too many key positions. I just hate it. 6-11 is about where I have them.
with their draft pick at pick number 11, I got them taking tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. Sheer need pick. This is a lot of my mock draft will be for need, as you'll see coming, when we put that up there. Losing a decent amount in free agency could play guard here, though. He has mediocre arm length, but he takes double teams fluidly. He plays with excellent balance, and with Aaron Banks going to the Packers and John Feliciano retiring, I feel like it just makes sense here. Shore up that offensive line a little bit and give them some help. Give Christian McCaffrey some help and give Brock Purdy some more time to throw. So,
yeah, I feel like Will Campbell would be a great pick there. If not, I was going with Will Johnson, kind of get that cornerback position solidified. At pick 11, especially when you're facing maybe like the dead zone of tackles, and maybe an Armand Membu goes around that time. I think Will Campbell goes a little earlier than 11, but who's to say he does? And I like the pick regardless. They need to get offensive line or cornerback addressed for sure.
we also got our last team coming in here. So you said 6-11. You like that pick. Anything else before we head on to the Seattle Seahawks, or you got it? Are you good to
No,
go?
let's get off that bum team. I mean, they offered who was it? One thing they did do that kind of stuck out to me. They offered Dre Greenlaw more money than the Broncos did, and he did not want to return to the Niners.
Well, that's saying a lot about the culture and the way the organization's going. So it is what it is, man. That's crazy that he got offered the bag and didn't want to stay. He didn't fold like Myles Garrett. But then again, Myles Garrett really got the brake truck backed up. So um, we got a 36.89 mil for Seattle's cap. That's eighth best in the league. They need center, guard, and cornerback, in my opinion. They got Sam Darnold on a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. That's crazy. It's crazy to see that. I see ghosts everywhere. I do not have faith in Sam Darnold, especially behind the line that they have right now. and that they've
Yeah.
done really nothing to address it other than getting Josh Jones for on a 1 year $4 million. Versatile and serviceable when called upon, but I don't think he's going to make a dent. Like you said, not moving the needle is what your famous saying is.
Hmm.
Got Cooper Cup on a 3 year, $45 million deal. Love the signing. Gives Darnold someone else to throw to other than JSN. So, what you feel about Cup and how you feel about Darnold? Because I know I kind of went fast there. I want you to go ahead and spit your takes, man.
No, not at all. I think you paired it really nicely. They all complement each other really well. Um, I'm alongside with you. I was a big Sam Darnold believer at the start of last year, and all the way up until that Lions game in Week 18. Um, he looked good on tape. He dealt with pressure a lot better than he did Week 18 in the playoffs goes. But
Right.
I just noticed, bull rushes, sending six guys at a time. It just doesn't bode well for him.
PC
And I
Ghost.
think yeah, you could pay Geno Smith a little bit more money for him to be satisfied, like the Raiders did, and you would have had your quarterback position solidified then and there. And as far as Cooper Cup goes, he is aging. I just think it gives Sam Darnold another reliable target outside of JSN, like you mentioned, to go to, because
Well,
losing Tyler Lockett and DK is huge.
yeah, what were they trying to do? Get younger at the quarterback position with Sam Darnold instead of taking Geno? Because I know Geno's been around the league for years, but at the same time, like you said, you send the slightest blitz at Sam Darnold and he's folding. So he did
Yeah,
well in a Kevin O'Connell system, like I was saying last year. Everybody's saying, no, it's deep ball, you can't praise deep ball accuracy, blah 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 blah. I know you can't, but at the same time, when you have the tools to succeed, you're gonna succeed. And when you're putting, you know, the fire, I guess you could say, with the Seattle offensive line, he's not going to do well. But at the same
no,
time, it depends on what they do in the draft too, and the rest of free agency. They could pick anybody else up at all. Let's go ahead and get off of Sam Darnold. Ross, I'm going to start seeing ghosts. I got DeMarcus Lawrence on a 3 year, $32.5 million deal. Great with the Cowboys. Hope he makes the same impact. With the Seattle Seahawks, they could definitely use it with the running backs in their division. Like I said, like we said before, with Christian McCaffrey, and then you also have Kyler Murray to contain that edge. So yeah, um, what do you think
huge
about
need.
D-Law? I mean, surprising he's still in the league. That man is old.
Yeah, he is getting up there in age and everything, but still kicking, still provides a lot of edge juice that they really needed. You already have a Leonard Williams on the team. You already have Uchenna Nwosu off the edge as well that plays a little linebacker hybrid, but really getting a pure edge, one that they needed, one that doesn't pigeonhole them in the draft to pick one specific position. I think it's huge for them. So really good signing. I think it's a decent value too at about $10 million a year. So good on them.
Guys, go ahead and join our Discord server up here. With the little, with the little finger. All right, yeah, join our little Discord server with the little, with the QR code up there. You can drop your mocks. You can drop your accusations and speculations on what you have for what your team does and what other teams do. Get together with other fans that love football and let's get this rolling. Let's get this channel started. We just started it, so come on in, share us your thoughts and opinions and feelings.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I guess we'll get to the rest of this. We got MVS, got a Scantling on a 1 year, $4 million deal. Inconsistent, but better than the depth they did have. So,
Yeah.
always finding them on a deep ball somewhere. So it is.
He's going to be able to take the top off of him. No diddy.
Hey. And then, like I said, Josh Jones at a 1 year, $4 million deal. We talked about it already, so I'm not going to go ahead and get into that again. Why bother repeating myself on NFL Network? They do it every hour or so when they reset. We got cornerback Geno Smith went to the Raiders. We already knew that. Tyler Lockett is still on sign, which I'm kind of surprised about. DK Metcalf was traded to the Steelers. Again, another surprise. Pharaoh Brown to the Dolphins. George Fant is not re-signed. Maybe they re-signed. Well, how was George Fant? I haven't really did much research on him. He was booty bones, or he was
Yeah,
all
he
right.
wasn't that good.
All right, so then we got Stone Forsythe going to the Giants, which is crazy. I'd rather have George Fant than Forsythe, but Lakin Tomlinson to the Texans. Um, Travis Gibson did not get re-signed or signed anywhere. Draymond Jones went to the Titans. Jonathan Hankins is unsigned, which I'm surprised about that when he was good with the Giants. Um, Robertson Harris went to the Giants. Trey Brown went to the 49ers. Artie Burns went to the Dolphins. And Rayshawn Jenkins is unsigned. And Kevon Wallace is also unsigned. Two safeties that could potentially get on somewhere else.
Yeah, just a lot of holes on that defense. I feel like, Jonathan Hankins, Roy Robert Harrison, and Draymond Jones were actually solid bits of their interior defense. I think they lose out on. Not the biggest losses in the world, and honestly save some cap by not re-signing them. But at the end of the day, you got to shore up your interior, especially with how bad they were against the run last year.
Okay. So for the draft pick at pick 18, I have him picking Donovan Iziraku. Yeah. Wolf Tato kind of helped me with the pronunciation just a little bit. Oh my god, I still butchered that. That's ridiculous. Reading off a screen is crazy. Dude is quick.
Yeah.
Dude is quick, has great pass rushing skills as well as wrecking offenses. Good arm length for a pass rusher. Maybe a little undersized of the position though. With Draymond Jones and leaving for the Titans and then not re-signing Travis Gibson, kind of like this move to fill a need. Really, what do you feel about Donovan? Iziraku.
I think he's a great pick. I mean, out of Boston College, he was the most productive defender on their team and one of the most productive edge rushers in all of college, actually. The size is a little bit of a concern. I believe he measures in at about 6'1". But at the end of the day, if a team is willing to utilize him in a way that frees him up on some of these rushes, TJ Watt isn't the tallest being of them all, but he wrecks a game. And honestly, not comparing him to a TJ Watt, but you put players in the right position and they can make plays. And Donovan Iziraku is one of those guys who can do that. So I really like the pick there. If I wouldn't go in that direction, I would look at someone like a Kelvin Banks out of Texas, really highly regarded left tackle. Can honestly move around a bit on the line as well. So really like that draft pick at 18.
Okay. Free agency grade, in my opinion, is a C. They signed a lot of depth at receiver, got Cup MVS to play alongside JSN. A lot of acronyms here. So Mordez Valdez Scantling and Jackson Smith and Jigbo, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just so if y'all don't know who that is, I'm sure y'all do. If y'all like football, I mean, at least y'all know y'all hearing his name on Sundays. So don't understand why they trade Smith. Getting Darnold Smith was way better. I love the D-Law signing too. If they address that hard line and maybe get a better cornerback, or get another cornerback, I feel like they can only go up a little bit, but that line's going to be a concern for at least the next year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I'm a little more harsh than you are with the C grade. I'll go to a D. I think it's a below average free agency considering their losses alongside the defensive line, losing a DK Metcalf. And honestly, I'm fine with the haul they got back for him. However, it just doesn't seem like they're setting Sam Darnold up for success. Again, getting two wideouts does help, but not addressing that offensive line. That offensive line was horrid last year. Again, bottom of the league among the likes of the Bears, among the likes of, you see the Jets in there, the Titans before all their swap arounds. It's just not a very well built offensive line, and for that I give them a D. And I believe they pop out with a 7-10 record, kind of being their ceiling there. So
7-10 as well, yeah. Kind of agree with that one. They gotta do something about that line. At least the Bears actually went out and did something for Caleb Williams, with Ben Johnson being hired there. Mike McDonald, they got to get up in that office and figure out what they can do. There's got to be something.
Something.
May just be in the draft's hands, or maybe if somebody lets go of a camp body, you pick them up, or something like that. I have no idea. 7-10, like you said, is probably their ceiling. They could get. I mean, I'd say 7-10 to maybe 6-11, 5-12. It's between those three, but 7-10 was my pick originally. So,
yeah.
Without further ado, let's get the hell off of that team as well. So Seattle. We also have our mock drafts that we're about to pop up right now, actually. So let me go ahead and click that in, and we got this.
Heck yeah.
All right, Peyton, you're there. What's up? All right, let's go. Peyton, you're on the
Yep.
right. I'm on the left. I'm pretty sure you have yours. You want to break yours down first? You want to tell them what you got?
Yeah, a little bit of variance among our two mock drafts. Started off with the obvious Cam Ward going number one to the Titans. I feel like that's all the talk's been about recently. They canceled their meeting with Shadur Sanders as well. So it looks like they're dead set on the number one pick. Doesn't look like they're going to trade it unless they get a massive haul. But I don't think the Giants are going to hop up 2 picks to go get him. Pretty standard there. Shadur Sanders, second overall to the Browns. Talk of him dropping in the draft, and I can definitely see it. However, Cleveland, I don't think they roll with Kenny Pickett as their day one starter. So you're looking at a change up there. And then Travis Hunter, you're looking at the biggest playmaker in the draft, kind of on both sides of the field there. Elite, great ball tracking skills, would fit great alongside of Malik Neighbors, would fit great, on defense alongside, Deontay Banks. It would just be a great fit in my mind. Abdul Carter not slipping anything more than 4. Feel like him on the Patriots would wreak havoc. I know you want to give Drake May a little more help, but then again, help goes both ways. Creating a better defense for him, allowing him to rest up a little bit more would be helpful. And then rounding out the top 5 before you go on with your top 5, Mason Graham from Michigan. A little bit undersized, but it doesn't matter when you're a game wrecker like him. Clogs up the interior like no other. Jacksonville is in desperate need of someone alongside that defensive line, and I just feel like he makes the most sense.
Well, this is my first mock draft, so I'm going to go ahead and obviously, yeah, ours are going to be different. That little mix up we had earlier where I thought ours were the same when I downloaded the wrong image. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But, anyways, I drafted based on need. Obviously, Cam Ward going number 1 overall, predicted him to go to the Titans. Hopefully, they win the division with him. And, basically back up my claim so I don't have to eat crow when we did the divisional breakdown for the Titans. Also got Abdul Carter going to number 2. I feel like the Browns could use him there. Imagine putting him alongside of Myles Garrett, bro. Just imagine that. Yeah, that'll be hell. And Myles Garrett, maybe that's what they're talking about. Getting Abdul Carter and just saying Myles Garrett will pay you the bag. We're gonna get him, and we're gonna build a championship defense. See the Giants getting Shadur Sanders. Yeah, I know they got Wilson. Yeah, I know they got Jameis Winston. But at the same time, depending on how either of those work out, you could have like a quarterback competition in. You have the quarterback competition in camp, basically depending on who decides to win out there, whether it's Jameis or Wilson to back up. I feel like they just give Shadur the keys. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair as well.
Titaro McMillan, I just didn't, like I said, I filled for a need. Arizona needs another wide receiver outside of, Marvin Harrison, and I believe what was it, Michael?
No, that's shoot. New England's pick.
What the hell? Why did I read that wrong? My bad.
He's from Arizona.
Yeah, like you said, give somebody else for Drake May to throw to. Why not him? We also got number 5, Mason Graham. Like you said, he was a little undersized at the position, but like you said, he can wreak havoc. I'm just going to agree with you there on that one. I was drafting for need, so it's my first one. We'll get better at this. Yeah, well, I'll get better at this. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say just to go over we don't have to go over the entire first round, but kind of pointing out a couple guys here that strike our eyes. First, I'll bring the question up to you. We were talking a little bit before stream, but you having Travis Hunter outside your top 5.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, well, I only did that for the fact that, you don't know what he's going to play. And even if he does play both, it's more of an injury risk at the same time. That's what I said. You said that he would be more solid as far as, he'd be solid more than any standard wide receiver or cornerback, so it doesn't matter. I just I just think it's a risk. I mean, it's a lot to bet on one guy, really, especially
Of
in
course,
this league.
of course.
People switch positions all the time. People play different things. I understand that, um, but if he's as good as everybody's saying he is, he also has high bust potential too.
For sure. But I think, you know, no matter how great you are, you're bound to carry that bust potential. And especially as a first round pick in the top 10 ish, you have it written all over you, regardless of what position you're at. And again, you could say there's injury risk with any of the quarterbacks taken in the top couple picks just based on the snaps they play.
Yeah,
You know, I myself as a general manager, I'm shooting for upside at the same time as building a well-rounded team, and I believe he does that perfectly. I think, uh, I don't think there's a way Jacksonville, even with a Brian Thomas, would pass up on a Travis Hunter. I don't know. The New England, in my eyes, definitely wouldn't. But I can see where you get the injury perspective from playing both sides of the ball, because that could
what's
shake
next? Are you
some
going to be a
things
punter
up.
too?
Punt
Yeah.
returner, dang it.
Um, I mean, I,
Love
I
me some Travis
I
Hunter,
think you were
though. I'm
saying
biased.
Ashton Genty as well. Me having him go at 9 was kind of a little different. Um, you have him going at 6 to the Raiders. You explain. Well, could you explain that a little bit further with Ashton Genty?
Of course. I like the spot at 9 for Genty, in all honesty. I think Kellen Moore wanting another running back. You saw what he did with Saquon. However, they do have Alvin Kamara still. Even though he's on the downhill decline as far as age goes, still productive, but inefficient at times. So Genty would be a huge positive there. I just believe that the Raiders are really invested in getting a running back at this stage. You get a Raheem Mostert in free agency, and that honestly doesn't do much as far as your
Yeah.
starting role goes. I feel like having a team with Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, good offensive line, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers is really solid. But in all honesty, your pick, Travis Hunter, to them, I mean, that would be even bigger of a dream for Raider fans if they're to get him as a playmaker. So, how your draft unfolded, I kind of
Appreciate you.
respect it. Um, yeah, I just I think Genty is too good. I think the lowest he'll go is 10. So if the Saints don't pick him at 9, the Bears are going to be pounding the table to get him at 10 if they don't even trade up for him.
All right, my draft's going forward. I'm not paying for that, so I'm not trading. We're just gonna go with it. It is what it is. I'm not paying for that. I pay for enough as it is.
Yeah. We can have hypotheticals and everything and kind of talk trades
Yeah,
outside
for
of
sure.
it to see if anyone would move up. But as far as our mocks go, we'll keep it real basic,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know. But I mean, I kind of want you to talk about some of these later picks here. And one question I have: we both have Amari and Hampton going to your Commanders at 29. Um, is there anyone else you would want over him at 29, or does the board kind of play perfectly into your
Ward plays
favor there?
perfectly in the favor. Plus, we need a running back. Brian Robinson's not going to cut it, and the fact that we re-signed Nichols and we have Chris Rodriguez and Eckler for another year, I just feel like getting a different taste at running back will elevate this team even further than it already is. I feel like running the ball outside of Jaden Daniels was a concern last year. As far as it goes with Brian Robinson with his fumbling issues later in the year, especially the two against the Eagles. So I like Omari and Hampton here to try to give that change of pace and maybe give us something that we haven't had in a while. So what do you think about them?
I mean, I love Amari and Hampton. He's definitely my second favorite running back in this class. Really good running back class. So if that's the reason I wouldn't pick him in the first round, that's justifiable. However, he's a 3-down back.
We
He can
need
catch the ball. He's great in pass protection. He's a bruiser, but at the same time has agility in the short field, really good vision. I think he would be a perfect complement to Jaden Daniels. read option would go
Yeah,
crazy on
you're
that
gonna see a
team.
Derrick
And
Henry, Lamar Jackson effect on that one. I mean, I don't know if I'm not comparing him to
yeah,
Derrick Henry, but I feel like that's how it'll look with that team. Commanders, go
for
get
sure,
Amarian.
for
I'm
sure.
betting
And
on you.
yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah. If you don't go running back, who in the first round, who can kind of slide, who would you be looking at? Maybe an
Yeah, an edge.
edge?
We really need edge help badly. I'm trying to see who I would pick. I'd probably take. I could take Shamar Stewart or Nick Scorton over him. Well, if Hampton's not on the board. Um, I gotta look more into it though. Like I said, this is my first one, so I picked based on need for each team. But edge rusher is definitely
Okay.
that last. Well, edge rusher is definitely that next concern that we need to address. We'd had problems setting the edge for the last few years. Last year in specific too. One of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. Good against the pass for some reason, but really bad against the rush. I mean, Dan Quinn's defenses are usually bad against the run. Even I'm not entirely sure about his Seattle days, but when he's with the Cowboys, they easily let up a decent amount on the ground. They weren't really stout in the rush department either. I'm wondering if it's a defensive scheme or if it's more or less just the player personnel that we have.
For sure, for sure. And I think edge would be the best way to go as well. A guy like Shamar Stewart, a guy like Michael Williams, they're more projects. They have the tools to be amazing. It's just either injury limited them or they started to hit their groove a little later on. A guy like Nick Scornton, he is more of a surefire production guy. He had a lot of production in his 2022 2023 campaigns. 2024 a little less due to being banged up and everything there. But I believe those would be great fits at 29 to you if Hampton wasn't available for
Okay,
some reason.
and then the one pick I put Jackson Dart going to the Steelers. A reach or what?
You did.
Because maybe a little. We were talking back, I think, a couple weeks ago about our drafts, and we were talking about Jackson Darks. I remember I brought up the question. Apparently, him being a number 2 quarterback due to how he progressed at the combine, and you said maybe the Steelers come back and pick him up. So I kind of agreed with that. Kind of get him at the end of the first round. So what do you think about that Jackson Dart pick? I know it's different from one you have.
I mean, I could see it. If all words are true about Shadur falling in this draft, I can see the Steelers trading up if he's still there around that 13-14 range. I mean, no team really needs a quarterback before that, but another team might look to trade up.
Yeah.
And you really want Jackson Dart there, you go with him. He just ran a really simple college offense, and that always scares me when it comes to the pros, because you not learning how to read an NFL defense in college really hampers your growth process. And when you really have to read a field and go outside your first and second reads, that's when it can start getting a little murky. And Jackson Dart does have a lot of these physical intangibles, but will the mental side carry along with that? That's my biggest question, and that's why I don't have.
If you had to do a comparison with Jackson Dart, who are you picking? Quarterback former, like a Matt Barkley type. I don't know. What are you thinking? What do you give him?
I wouldn't comp him that bad just because I was not high on Matt Barkley at all. I'm a little bit higher on Jackson Dart. He has a really good deep ball over the middle, inconsistencies. I would compare him to a Tua of sorts, in which his deep ball, has impressed at times. No, I wouldn't go at Tua comparison. That's a bad comparison. Let me do something else.
Right-hander.
My apologies. Let me do like kind of like an older Joe Flacco.
Okay, as of late, so
yeah, I would say struggles a little more with touch, a little more mobile than a Joe Flacco maybe, but kind of the same area deep shots and a lot of comparisons.
You say he's a good deep ball. Because I would say Colt McCoy, but Colt McCoy, he can run a little bit, but Colt McCoy's deep ball is very lackluster.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about who else.
It's hard to come up with one on the fly. I would need to do a little bit more digging,
All
in
right,
all honesty, to create like a perfect comparison.
for sure. TikTok's over here yelling at me. Hang on 1 second.
But no, you're all good. As far as I'm looking here, I mean, I see you have a Mecha Egbuka to the Chargers, which I love. In all honesty, again, in a perfect world, I think we draft offense, but in all honesty, I think we're going to go a defensive lineman.
Replace Puna.
Yeah, replace Puna and shore up that defensive interior, maybe like a Derek Harmon. I know he's not mocked in the first round in any of ours, but Derek Harmon's a really solid pick. Maybe a Walter Nolan. We both mocked him to the Vikings. He would be a really solid fit for the Chargers. Any of those guys, in my opinion, would be huge, or even a Gray Zabel if you're going offensive line. Someone who can move around a lot, fill in multiple positions, and Chargers desperately need to lock down that left guard center tandem.
For sure. We went over the Chargers early on in our little breakdowns. Outside of McConkey, they still don't have anybody, do they?
They did sign Mike Williams.
Yeah.
So they have Mike Williams there. They have Quentin Johnston, but still a lackluster receiving room, in my opinion. And another body would help, whether that's re-signing Keenan Allen or it's, looking in the draft. I think the Chargers, in all honesty, are more likely to go with either offensive line, defensive line round 1, and then come back in round 2 with the wideout. But I could be wrong as well.
That's what they really want to accomplish here. I feel like the offensive line and defensive line is a really safe pick, in my opinion. Yeah, replacing Puna and getting some more protection for Justin Herbert. You can't go wrong in either way. So, do you have anybody else? Because I don't have any more questions myself. I mean, you're the guru here. I'm just starting this.
No, you're all good. I'm just taking a look here real quickly, seeing if there's anyone else that really strikes my eye. But no, I would say, Luther Burden going earlier than I mocked him at 12 to the Cowboys. I feel like the Cowboys are more and more inclined to take a wide receiver. I spotted Matthew Golden in there. If the Cowboys manage to trade up, you think it's going to be for Genty?
For Genty. It's either they get that second wide receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb, or they get that running back they haven't had since Ezekiel Elliott. So,
yeah, I could see him trading up with the Panthers. Actually, the Panthers are a good trade down candidate. I feel like they can fill out their defense a little bit more if they're to trade back about 4 spots.
I look over, I see T like stomping away like this. I said, he said you do the Wolf Tato walk. I said, I look over, I see he's going like this. Well, look, guys, it's been our NFC West edition. We got it. We had our mock drafts and stuff like that. So, we'll be back here next week at 5 for the NFC North edition. If y'all want to go ahead and join our Discord, like I said, up there, up there, somewhere. Click
it.
Yes.
Scan
click it.
Do it.
All right. Go ahead and get us on. But like I said, it is what it is. We'll be back here at 5 p.m. next week. If you do join the Discord, we'll let you know about scheduling indifferences, things like that. If we change our schedule or anything like that, come on in and post your mocks. Let us know what you got. Maybe we'll bring them on stream and we'll look at them. We'll look at the best one. So come on. All right, guys. This has been JDB Sports. We'll see you next Saturday for the NFC North. You guys have a good one. All right.